Hey everyone, welcome back. It seems like every day we're bombarded with news about some new global crisis, right?
Yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming. Wars, climate change,
Resource scarcity. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it feels like these problems are getting worse and happening faster and faster.
exactly. It's like, where do we even begin? Well, that's what we're going to talk about
Right?
today. We're diving into Vantiq, which is this really cool software platform that some people are saying has the potential to help us get a handle on some of these global challenges.
I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? Instead of just reacting to these problems, what if we could start getting ahead of them? And, that's where Vantic comes in.
So, okay, first things first, can we back up a little? What exactly is Vantiq?
Think of it this way. Imagine a symphony orchestra, right?
Yeah.
Violins, trumpets, you've got your drums, all these amazing instruments, each doing their own thing.
Right.
But without a conductor, someone to bring it all together. You can create software that can do some pretty amazing things. Like it can analyze huge amounts of data, way more than a human ever could, reacting to things as they happen in real time.
Oh, wow.
And use it to make decisions, come up with recommendations.
Real time, right?
Yeah, exactly, in real time. And that's one of the things that makes it so powerful, especially when you're dealing with situations that are changing really quickly.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So, for example, I know one of the things Vantic is being used for is disaster response, right? Like, say there's a flood happening.
Right.
Could Vantic actually help get people to safety faster?
That's exactly right. I mean, just imagine a system that's taking in data from all kinds of sources. We're talking about things like weather sensors, river gauges. It could even pull in information from social media posts. And then using all of that, it could figure out the best evacuation routes. It could predict which areas are going to be hit hardest.
And even coordinate rescue efforts.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of power that Vantic brings.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense. But I'm still kind of curious about how it actually works. What's going on under the hood that makes Vantic so different from, I guess, just regular software?
Right. Well, one of the key things is that Vantic is built on something called a reactive framework. And essentially what that means is it's designed to handle this constant stream of events. So instead of, collecting a bunch of data and then processing it later, Vantic is processing the information as it comes in, and it's adapting to changes in real time. Kind of like, I don't know.
Oh, like a GPS?
Yeah, exactly. Like a GPS, you know how it updates as you're driving? It's not just showing you a static map.
Right.
It's constantly adjusting to your location, to traffic conditions, things like that.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So instead of waiting for all the data to be collected and analyzed, Vantic is making decisions based on the most up-to-date information.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the speed either. Vantic can handle massive, and I mean massive, amounts of data. We're talking about data from all kinds of sources. So weather patterns, satellite images, sensor readings, all of that. It's like having a superpowered brain that can see the big picture.
Okay, that's what I find really interesting. Because if Vantic can make sense of all that data, then theoretically, couldn't it also predict things before they even happen? Like, say, a flood.
That's the ultimate goal. And Vantic is getting us a lot closer,
Yeah.
by combining this real-time data analysis with some really powerful AI algorithms.
Oh, okay.
We can start to identify the patterns and the trends that might indicate a crisis is about to happen.
So like an early warning system, basically.
Uh,
But, okay, here's a question. With all this power, how accessible is Vantic? Because I have to imagine that building these intelligent systems must be incredibly complex.
Right. Well, you might be surprised. You see, Vantic actually takes a really user-friendly approach. So it offers what we call low-code development tools. And basically what that means is that you don't need to be, some kind of programming expert to build really powerful applications. It's designed to empower people from all sorts of backgrounds. I mean, the idea is to give everyone access to this cutting-edge technology.
I love that idea. But,
Yeah.
okay, before we go too far down that road, I want to go back to how Vantic tackles specific problems. And I'm especially curious about this whole event-driven architecture thing.
EDA, event-driven architecture, that's one of the things that makes Vantic so powerful. It's all about responding to events as they happen.
Right, that's what I was finding so fascinating. It's like, instead of waiting for things to happen, Vantic is constantly listening and reacting in real time. Is that right?
Exactly. So think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to manage traffic in a really busy city. With a traditional system, you might only collect data on the traffic flow every hour or so.
Okay.
But Vantic's getting updates from sensors and cameras every few seconds. So that means it can adjust the traffic signals, reroute vehicles. It could even send alerts to drivers about accidents or congestion almost instantly.
Okay, that's a really good analogy. I get it now.
Yeah.
So instead of reacting to like a traffic jam after it's already formed, Vantic can help prevent it from happening.
Exactly. You got it. And you know what? That same principle applies to so many other areas. Like, think about monitoring a patient's vital signs in a hospital. Vanta can detect subtle changes that might indicate a problem, and it can alert medical staff before it becomes a full-blown emergency.
Wow, that's incredible.
Mhm.
It really does feel like this could revolutionize so many things, like healthcare, disaster response, like you said, traffic management.
And what makes it effective is that it allows Vantic to process information in a very dynamic and flexible way. It's not limited by like a fixed set of rules or procedures.
Right.
It can actually learn and adapt as new data comes in, and that makes it really powerful, especially for dealing with those really complex and unpredictable situations.
So it's like having a super smart assistant that's like always a step ahead.
And kind of leads us to another key element of Vantic, generative AI and large language models.
LLMs.
LLMs.
Okay. I feel like now we're getting into the really futuristic stuff. I mean, I know AI is a big deal these days, but I'm curious, how does it actually work within Vantic?
So think of LLMs like been trained on massive amounts of data, and that allows them to understand and respond to these like complex questions and requests in a way that's very similar to how humans do it.
So they're like these super-powered language processors that can like communicate and make decisions based on what they've learned.
Exactly. And when you combine those LLMs with Vantic's real-time data analysis
Yeah.
capabilities, that's when it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because now you have a system that can not only understand what's happening, but it can also provide insights, recommendations, and even take action automatically.
Okay, I think I need like a real-world example here. Can you give me a concrete example of how this might play out?
Sure, sure. So imagine a wildfire breaks out in a remote area. Okay. Vantic could use its sensors and AI to track the fire's spread, analyze weather conditions, and even predict which areas are most at risk. And then, using those LLMs, it could generate instructions for firefighters, coordinate evacuation efforts, and it can even automate the deployment of resources like drones and water tankers.
So it's like having this virtual command center that's like orchestrating the entire response in real time.
That's exactly it. And because Vantic's constantly learning and adapting, it can actually get better at responding to these situations over time.
I mean, that's seriously impressive.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, with all this talk about AI and automation, what about the human element?
That's a really good question. But the way I see it, Vantic is a tool. It's a tool that empowers humans. It doesn't replace them. It's about, giving us more capabilities, helping us make better decisions, especially when we're faced with these really, really complex challenges.
So it's more like a partnership,
Yeah,
between humans and AI, where we each bring our strengths.
precisely. And I think that kind of collaboration is essential, especially if we're going to tackle the biggest problems facing the world today.
It really feels like Vantic is like more than just technology. It's a way to actually make the world a better place.
Imagine things like better transportation systems, personalized healthcare, more sustainable energy. It really feels like there's no limit to what we can do.
It really is incredible. Before we started this deep dive, I have to admit I was feeling a little overwhelmed by all the challenges facing the world. But now I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic. It's good to know there are people out there working on solutions using technology like Vantic to build a better future.
I'm right there with you. And, I hope our listeners are feeling inspired too to think about how they can be part of this, how they can use technology like Vantic to make a positive impact on their communities. The future is something we build together.
That's a great way to put it, and a perfect note to end on.